What's up everyone, welcome to Fiending for Tactics, where we're trying to find a game kinda like Final Fantasy Tactics. See, I grew up playing that on my PSP, the PS1 port, and I had a lot of fun with it, and there's nothing quite like it, and there's nothing like it on PC especially. And I browse the strategy game subreddit, and I see a lot of people talking, they're like, hey, what's like Final Fantasy Tactics? And no one has an answer. And so I thought it would be fun to do a video series where we look at strategy RPGs and we try to find something that kind of invokes those feelings, kind of has that vibe to it. And there are a couple criteria I want to stick to. I'd like it to be turn-based, obviously, not real-time. I'd like it to take place on a grid, and I'd like it to have some sort of RPG element where you're leveling up the same characters and progressing in that way. Some less mandatory things, I'd like to see some randomly generated content. I like the replayability there, and I'd like to see, permadeath sort of, or at least the option for permadeath. I like getting attached to the characters. And so today, the game we're looking at is Tactics Ogre. Now, Tactics Ogre Reborn specifically, this is a PC version. It came out last year, 2022, and it is the game that back in the day, Final Fantasy Tactics was based on. And I'm going to be completely upfront with you. This is already, of all the games I've played plenty of these, this is already the top of the list. This is the closest you're going to get. If that's what you're looking for and that's why you came to the video, you can head out now and get it. Because I have not found anything to top it. But if you want to stay and watch, that'd be nice too. So, in terms of randomly generated content, because I said that is a big thing for me, there are these dungeons where the map is the same, it isn't randomly generated, but what you encounter on the map, the set of units, is randomly generated. So that's kind of nice. I don't think it's randomly generated entirely, I think it's from a list, but it's better than nothing, am I right? Alright, so what's this game? What's the deal? Well, like I said, this was the basis for the original Final Fantasy Tactics, not this specific version, of course, but this game in general. And let me tell you, it's pretty deep. In terms of actual, strategy, story stuff, that's going on. You've got all these different characters. They do... I'll try to avoid spoilers here as best I can, but they do a full background on all of them. You can read the background. They even have the side characters, like random guys who you just beat in a one-off battle. They have a listing here where it's like the guy's full history, and then it's like, oh, and then you killed him. Well, shoot. That's pretty cool. I love stuff like that. You get titles. You unlock different titles as you play. It's got 2 timelines. It might have more, but I think it's 2. It's got like a good guy timeline and a bad guy timeline that you pick based on your decisions. And also based on your decisions, you get different named units, different important named units that you can pull into your group. And I don't think they have any actual party differences. I think it's mostly based on just their sprite. But they do have unique interactions in certain battles. For example, Donalto here, I rescued him in an earlier mission, and he had a full conversation with a necromancer about how unholy it was and how what he was doing was wrong. He wouldn't have had that conversation, 1, if I hadn't rescued him, 2, if I hadn't brought him with me. So there's lots of little things like that. So where are we going to... That kind of covers the story. There's good voice acting. You're playing through an existing story. It's very Final Fantasy Tactics and how the story is presented. The voice acting is really nice. I like it a lot. We'll take a look at that when we come down here for the battle that I want to show off. But so what are some of the things you do in this game, right? We have our party here, and you've got your different classes the same way. Let's see. There we go. You've got your different classes. You get different tickets for them that let you switch classes. They're very cheap and they're very easy to get. And then otherwise, you've got your equipment, you've got your different weapons, and then over here you've got your skills. Now skills, I believe in this version, are pretty different from how they were in the original versions of the game. You only have your 4 base skill slots, you have 4 spell slots, and your passive skills, for instance, the the Berserk ability on the the Berserker here, it increases your physical damage dealt and causes melee weapons to hit all units on the tiles directly in front of, diagonally forward, etc. It's kind of like a spinning swing, right? This would have been a passive in the previous entry, but now it's just you equip it and it has a percentage of a chance to activate, which, you know, that may kind of sound bad, but it works, and I'll explain why when we get into battle. Hopefully I remember to mention why, but it has to do with the way passives activate in battle. And then, you know, you've got your, one of these slots is pretty much always going to be taken up by your weapon, because it gives you a pretty serious boost to the specific weapon you're using. But I don't know how actually mandatory that is. I haven't tried really playing without one yet. But then you've got, you know, your different, this, like, increases your strength by 50% when making melee attacks. You've got, like, your activated abilities like this pincer attack. If somebody gets hit between you and an ally, then you also get an opportunity strike. Pretty cool. And then you've got your item slots, you know, healing, power-ups. And these items, these are really important in the battle. I've seen some complaints about the difficulty of the game, and I can't help but wonder if people are using the items as liberally as you probably should, because I'm using these items a lot and not running into quite as much trouble as I'm hearing about. All right, and then, you know, you've got your regular stats. You've got your element here. Everybody has an element, and it affects, I believe it affects some strength and weaknesses, 1 to magic, 2 possibly just to regular attacks, but I'm not 100% clear on that, just from somebody with, like, the element that beats yours, but then also spells and stuff. All right, so who do I have here? I have some of the classes. I don't have anywhere near all the classes unlocked, but I've got some different guys here. We've got, like, for instance, a Terror Knight. This guy does, you know, kind of evil shadow magic, and then he focuses on just being really, really defensive and tanky and fearing the enemy, sending them running. This guy, this is a story-related character. He flies around the battlefield, and you can build him kind of different. When I first got him, he had an axe in one hand and a bow in the other, but I've kind of focused him on magic and got him equipped with a regular bow and a shield. And so what I do is I fly around and I see who's vulnerable to magic and who's vulnerable to physical. You know, you've got your your cleric here with your different, you know, you've got a lot of different spells, just for the record, but, you know, you've got your, like, your blesses and stuff. Here's a dragoon. Dragoons specialize in dealing with beasts or dragons, which is a pretty big deal. You might have noticed I have, for instance, this big octopus guy. These guys can't wear equipment. You can recruit them, but they can't wear equipment. And then they have different abilities that are just kind of creature-specific, I guess you could put it. I actually have a dragon, I believe, too. I should have that on the... Yeah, I got this dragon last night. Deimos, a thunder dragon. And they can wear rings, but the octopus really should be able to wear a lot of rings, but he just gets the one slot. They can wear rings, but that's it for that. And then, you know, they've got their abilities. And instead of what you would expect from... I feel like Final Fantasy Tactics, you kind of built up these super units and you did a lot of crossover with the different abilities and passives and stuff. And that isn't in this. If I were to switch this guy from a rune fencer to, say, an archer, other than this sword skill being upgraded, he loses all of these passives. He no longer has access to any of the rune fencer stuff, which is a spell sword for the record. All that stuff's gone. None of it's crossed over. It's not about building your team that way, though. This game is a lot more about going into this menu before each fight and organizing your team that you're taking into that fight for the specific threat that you're facing. You're fighting beasts? Okay. Well, you want your dragoon up front, and maybe you want to specify that you have the Beast Bane active, right? There's no dragon on the map. You don't need Dragon Slayer on him, right? Save that spot for something else. Put a pincer attack there. I don't know. Up his health. Pretty specialized sort of builds is, I think, how you're meant to play this game. And playing it that way, I'm really enjoying it. I was a little bummed about the lack of the ability crossover at first, but now that I've kind of conceptualized, you know, I'm building a team for each specific problem, I like that a lot. So in terms of equipment, we do have a lot of options on different types of weapons, but most of them are, at least at the stage of the game I'm at, upgrades to previous weapons. That's pretty much all. I'm starting to see unique stuff like a long bow that can hit one tile further than the regular bow. It's a little weaker, but it can hit further. You've got your different armor. The armor does make a good difference when it comes to your ability to obviously take and, you know, deal with damage, but also move across the map. If you're in heavier armor, you're going to have a harder time with your movement. And certain classes already have a harder time with their movement. Like I said, consumables are a big deal, and there's so many, and they all do different stuff. There's a lot of these, like, okay, True Strike, Sidestep, Spell Strike, Weaken. Some of these are kind of obvious, but I don't believe, at least I couldn't find anywhere in the game that tells you what all of these are. So I had to go to the wiki, and on the wiki, it's pretty easy to figure out what most of these are, but there's a lot. There's a huge amount of status effects. And like I said, I've been using a lot of these, you know, powering up at the start of most battles. And they're not super expensive when it comes to, like, in-game currency. So I'm pretty sure you're meant to be doing that. You've got your finishing moves. Your finishing moves are just like a big hit. You save mana for them, and then you use them. I believe in the original version of this game, there was a third bar. It was like a stamina bar, and that's what you used for some of these types of attacks. It's all in mana now, your magic points. And then you have charms if you want to change their element and stuff, or just up their certain stats, or up their level. There's XP charms as well. Okay, so we've kind of looked at some of these guys. Here's a Beast Tamer. I like the Beast Tamer a lot. That's how you, you know, you've got your recruits. Yeah, sure, these take up a slot. But again, if there's no dragon here, if there's no beast here, why would I go in with one of these on my character? I don't need it. I'd rather, maybe I'm fighting somebody who's doing, like, Petrify. Well, just swap that out for Resist Petrify, you know? You're really meant to come in here before each battle, and you have the opportunity to do that too. You'll see when we go into our battle here coming up. So that's kind of what to expect from your character select screen here, your like army viewer, right? And then you can like sort them if you want. And then here in the shop, we have a decent amount of options here too. So we can buy all the different weapons, shields, armor, consumables, and again, you saw the ones in my pocket, but look at how many are here. That's a lot of stuff. And a lot of this stuff is for crafting, which we'll look at in just a second here. Here's your tickets. You can see how cheap they are. I have 1,250. I went into that randomly generated, kind of air quotes, randomly generated dungeon, the Wildwoods up there that I showed you. And when I got out, I had 50k. And it was, let's say, 7 to 12 fights. I'm not sure exactly how many there were, but let's say 7 to 12, maybe 10, right? These are cheap. You can change classes as much as you want, basically. Here's all your spells. You know, you've got different stuff. I really like the dark magic spells. You've got a lot of options when it comes to, for instance, you know, paralyzing, putting to sleep is one that I use like basically in every fight. It's really, really efficient. It's like usually a 60% chance to knock someone out. You know, you've got your charms, you've got ninjutsus for ninja characters, all sorts of stuff. And then you're crafting. So you can up the abilities of a weapon by doing crafting here. Some of the materials you cannot buy. You have to get them as drops from dungeons and stuff. And that's fine. I don't mind that. I think the crafting's fun. I like upgrading my equipment. It feels good. It makes me it makes me feel better about my characters than just buying the next tier up. It makes me feel like I'm making something that I can't just buy. And then I guess you can even make consumables. I didn't even think of that. But yeah, you've got a lot of options here. Some of the ingredients you can buy, but it also saves you a lot of money on if you actually have them already. And then you can auction beasts you've tamed, and you can hire. I don't have enough, but you can hire. It shows you like 8 of the basic classes, like 4 male and 4 female. Maybe it's 10, 5 male, 5 female, and you can pick a new recruit. They're like 2K. And there are a few levels below your main cast, but you can level them up pretty easily. All right, so let's and then you have a training. So something important is there's a level cap now. Then this wasn't in the I know for a fact this wasn't in the previous ones. Some people don't like the level cap. Personally, I like the level cap. I think it's really cool. It makes you engage with the game in the way that I've been talking about. It keeps you from steamrolling just through this game's content. And I think that's a really good thing. Oftentimes in games like this, it's easy to just, throw yourself at a problem until you're strong enough to just tank the problem. But in this, you still have to use strategy because you aren't getting any stronger once you get to this point. Alright, so let's check out this fight, and I'll show you how the combat looks. So you have bonus objectives. You get a lot of money for doing these. Usually it's money. Sometimes it's XP charms. Okay, so no money on this one. And then I didn't even realize this. Last night, I went in with 8 dudes, and I'm allowed 10. I beat this mission with just 8 dudes. And a lot of these guys are level 15 and 16. So if that's not proof that it's about the strategy and the level cap doesn't really matter all that much, then I don't really know what is. So first thing I usually do is I scout. I take a look at the battlefield and I see what's out there. Alright, I'm going to take a sip of my tea here. Alright, so we're here to protect this wizard. So if he dies, it's going to kind of change things going forward. We don't want that. And then this is the target. He's the boss. If we beat him, we win. We don't actually have to kill all these other units. And then we've got a lizard fella. We got these. These are a pain. They will petrify you. And that's pretty much it. Now, something I do like about this game system that I'll talk about while I'm in this screen is the ability to rotate the camera to an overhead view. You'll notice these kind of behave weirdly. You can break these and they have power-ups inside. We'll talk more about those power-ups when we start the fight. But I really appreciate the ability to adjust that. Alright, so we know what we're dealing with here. Let's build our team. So something that I want to make sure I do ahead of time is prevent the enemies from coming back to my like flanking me or coming back to my vulnerable behind. So let's make sure that our dudes here have Rampart Aura. Cool. Okay, so what this does is it extends tiles around this unit, and enemies cannot pass through them. They have to stop and deal with this guy, or move slowly past him. And this is a huge ability to be using. Enemies will use this ability against you too. Certain guys are kind of immune to it. This guy, he's got an ability here. Where is it? Siege, he's immune to Rampart Aura. His movement is just reduced by 1. So that's kind of important. All right, so I want that. I'm gonna bring this knight. Actually, we do have a knight already. He's the AI controlled character. You have guest characters through most of these missions. We're on this mission for this fella here. So we're not going to bring the knight because we also have Rampart on our dragon. And I mean, it's a dragon, guys. Alright, let's take a look at who else we have here. Do we really need both clerics? Well, we're not dealing with undead, so we probably don't need both clerics. Whoops. I was trying to pull him up. Hang on. Alright, you know what? We'll drag him. Alright. And I'm sure you probably noticed how very similar to Final Fantasy Tactics this screen is. And even the combat, because the combat screen. And that's because it is. It just is. Like I said, this is the closest that I've found so far. So we don't need Exorcism. We're not dealing with undead. We have a plus-shaped heal or a regular heal, but we also have a stronger heal. So we're going to put that on there. I don't think anybody here can put us to sleep, so let's replace Awaken with the plus-shaped heal. And we'll keep Boon of Swiftness because it speeds us up. That's pretty cool. Alright, and then we only really need him. So we'll put him here. We'll remove her. Let's do the Terror Knight. Now, I don't think I used this guy last night when I was playing, but I like him a lot. I think he's really cool. And then let's see. The Beast Tamer, we don't really need her unless we're trying to tame one of those beasts, which this, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've already beat this fight. I have a different save file. I beat this last night. I wanted to play more. And I already have one of those. So I'm not really going to bring her. It's not important. We have a ninja we could bring, do some ninjutsu. But, yeah, you know what? We will bring her, because we have the extra slot. Alright, and I think, honestly, that's a pretty good setup. Maybe we should bring the second cleric, but we'll see once we get in here. But this is a pretty strong team I've been using. Alright, and let's take a look at that voice acting while we're at it.
Should have stayed well away if you know what's good for you. You'll need more men than that to break what Storm and Sea have made strong.
Payan, are you all right? Steady on, I'm coming.
Why are you returned, Falkert? Ought to have left me for dead. Good idea, that. Waste the old fool! But spare the women, lads. They'll fetch a tasty prize.
Alright, you probably noticed a jump cut there. That's because I had to exit the game real fast and adjust my VSync. VSync was off and it kind of looked bad. That might show up in earlier parts of the video, sorry if so. And on top of that, I also upped the resolution. I didn't realize I had it set a little lower. I've been playing this on my Steam Deck. I don't think that's probably going to matter too much, but you might notice it looks a little better now at this point in the video. I can't re-record all of that rambling, so but I don't think it'll look terribly different. It's a very pretty game already. Okay, so we start with our dragon here, and everybody moves in their turn order at the bottom, and then you have your axe. These take a turn to do, and you can move and act in any order. Alright, so we're gonna just get going in here and throw a boulder at Claros. Nice. Ooh, that was some really solid defense. Also, he might just have bad ranged attack. Alright, get our archer up in here. Let's see, we can hit from here, yeah? Yeah, that'll be fine. Alright. So you've probably, if you have seen Final Fantasy Tactics, you've probably noticed right away that this is basically the same thing in terms of how the combat plays out. I like it a lot. Like I said, it's the closest I've found. Ooh, maybe over here. There we go. You can undo your moves to a degree. I don't think I can get where I need to get to hit anybody. Yeah, okay. Alright, so we've talked about it. Let's talk about these cards, because I've mentioned them before. So, Mother's Blessing here is one of my passives, right? It gives me, I'm not actually sure, double HP restore on your next Divine Magic spell. Okay, that's pretty huge. It's a passive, though. It's only a percentage of a chance to activate. So how do we up that? Well, you've got these cards here. This increases the percentage chance, I'm not sure by how much, but it seems to be a pretty hefty amount, percentage chance that those passives activate. There's other ones like physical damage, magic damage, what have you. I only see these two for now. They randomly spawn in, and I don't want to move that far in. And I'll be clear, they do make the battlefield a little cluttered at times. But in terms of actual gameplay, I like the element they add. First off, they spawn in random spots, which is always nice because it means you have to think on the fly with each battle. See, there's a physical... I'm not going to get to that. Somebody's going to get that. Who's going to get it? Probably one of their melee dudes. Now I have a bigger problem to deal with because I have a stronger melee enemy to fight. Really like stuff like that. So, I don't have a problem. I can understand why some people would have a problem with that mechanic. That is a mechanic I didn't attack with him. That is a mechanic added in this. I don't mind it. I actually like it. And while we're at it, since I forgot to attack with this guy here, what I'm going to do... that's really good. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewind. Show you the rewind mechanic. Super easy to do. Just like that. And if I mess up again, if I were to pull it up, once his passives are done activating, okay, it won't split until I've done something. Whoops. Ah! That menu is easy to get stuck in sometimes, unfortunately. Alright. He's out of range for basically everything anyway. So I would... let's grab some extra magic here. There we go. Alright. And then if I were to pull that up again, you'd see it's got like a divergent line. And I don't know exactly how the RNG works here, but as long as you don't do something too wild, the timeline pretty much always still plays out the same. Passives activating, abilities failing, etc. And so it's not something I can just, if his attack missed, I can just rewind and try and hit it again. It won't. It will never hit, at least as far as I've tested. You have to change up the game plan if that's your thing. Alright. Let's hit with a bowgun here. 101's pretty good. 101's pretty good. I'll take it. It's best to focus down certain enemies with the hopes that you can just prevent them. Like okay, 2 attacks is worse than 1 attack. And a low health enemy is still attacking. So it's best to just like focus on 1 enemy. Alright, and then this is our main dude. He's like the main character here. Expect to play as him. He is... honestly, he's a little busted. He's like really strong. I'm going to throw a rock because I can't do anything else. But he's... I know the rock didn't do much, but he's pretty strong. If I were to... well, you'll see when I use one of my finishing moves on him. Alright, let's see. This is one of the guest characters. We don't have control over him. These first couple turns are kind of just about spacing, right? Getting in here, setting up where you want to be. I told you, one of their melee guys would grab it. That's a warrior right there. I don't think he has any passives, so I'm not really too worried about that, but it is annoying. I can't get that now. And you can hold 4 of those cards at a time. You might be noticing a trend with the number 4 here. Oh, hey, we activated that. Sometimes that can be a problem, too, if you want to hit just one dude and you're stuck hitting, like, all 3 dudes around you. Alright. Do we have enough magic to do a spell? No. Now, you've probably noticed a lot of passives on this guy. So, he's got a spell he can do, Drain Life, right? he's got a finishing move, he's got a regular attack, he can use an item, and then he's got these skills. These skills don't use your move, so I can use Fearful Impact, give my melee attack fear, and then I can come over here and I can hit with my melee attack. So you do have a lot of options, really, in what you can do in your turn. Ooh, that was weak. I guess I do have a crossbow on him, not anything melee. Dang. See, I told you, he's really strong. But you'll see when he does a finisher here soon. Alright. We don't have control over her. She's our other guest character. She's our main character's sister, for the record. And this is what I mean when I say it does get a little cluttered here. Let's see. Oh, shoot. When I switched V-Sync on, I forgot to adjust his spells. Okay. That's alright. Let's speed up our main boy here. And then let's move him a tiny bit back so that we aren't as at risk. Can't adjust the camera at the moment. Hang on. Alright. There we go. Okay. Physical attack, really good. Let's grab it. But then we're not going to hit with a physical attack. What we're going to hit with is our Dragon's Breath, because it'll hit 2 enemies in a line. Never mind. We don't have enough magic for that. So instead, we'll hit with a physical attack, I guess. Cool. These fights take about an hour. 45 minutes to an hour, at least in my experience. I don't know if I'm playing slow. I don't know if I'm playing fast. But it takes me about 45 minutes to an hour to beat one of these fights, on average. That dungeon took me, with like the 10 fights, took me days to get through. Two days of playing a little bit at night, a couple hours at night. So it's pretty hefty. It's a pretty bulky battles, I guess is a good way to put it. All right, let's use one of our mage spells. Now that said, I'm not gonna subject you guys to a whole battle here. My plan is to just kind of show you some of these. Oof, I don't want to paralyze my own guy. So here's something. You can click an enemy, see your percentage chance to do. Okay, 67%. I can't hit her, but it would be 42. This guy's 67. Let's take out this guy, 74. Put him out of commission if we can. Okay. But that said, I'm not going to subject you guys to a whole fight. I just kind of wanted to give you a taste of what this game was like, and then I'm gonna rate it on the scale. All right. And it's worth noting. This is a good opportunity to show you this. Certain weapons will arc. See, you've got an arc to it. If he had a crossbow. Okay, if he had a crossbow, he might be able to hit her. But he definitely could not hit this guy right here. He would be shooting, instead he would be shooting her. So the weapon arc actually matters too. Which is pretty cool. I like that a lot. It actually is easier to hit over like walls like this up here. It's easier to hit over these with a bow because you can arc it. Whereas a crossbow is just going to go straight, or a bow gun, or a blowgun, rather. Alright, and then let's move him, I guess, over here. Alright, here we go. Alright, we do get our big hit here. So you can see 424. Dude's only got 1,056 health. That's insane. The numbers are insane. Alright, let's move up here. And you can even undo after you pick up one of these cards, which I like. Let's see how much it would do to her and this lizard guy. Alright, not as much. Pretty good on her. How much did this guy have? 165. Honestly, I feel like we're better off expending our almost 400 on someone like this. So here's a finisher move. They got kind of like that 3D effect like Tactics did with certain spells. Alright, and then we should be able to Oh, yeah. Oh, he's just out of range. The bows have a minimum range, too, which I like as a mechanic, but have a hard time with sometimes. There we go. And then, you know what? If we can get our Beast Tamer, we can get her right up there. She actually has a pretty good chance. Oh, she buffed the dragon, too. That's one of the passives she has on. She actually has a pretty good chance. Okay, she would have a pretty good chance of recruiting if we had one more point of magic, which I think we can actually get. Hang on here. Hang on. So we don't have an enemy we can hit here, but look at this. How much is this going to do? 138? He's got 50. And we have to hit a target. So something I would do in a case like this is I would hit my own dude. Like this. Maybe I shouldn't have hit him since he's got the counter. But then get you get mana from attacking. Get that, and then 39% chance to tame. Let's see how it plays out. Hey, we actually have... Not only do we have one less enemy now, we have an extra unit. And that's what I'm talking about with the strategy with this game. Okay, we don't have the unit anymore. But I guess that brings me to my final point, which is much like the Final Fantasy Tactics sort of mechanic. Units do have permadeath if that little timer above them there runs out. At which point they drop their items, I think, and die. I haven't actually had it happen to one of my guys. I usually revive them. You can revive them with a consumable. You gotta make sure you have it on your dudes. The consumable isn't like a right next to sort of thing. It's like the next layer out, 2 spaces away. But it can be dicey. Now, something I do like, and I talked to my buddy about this. I can't remember for sure, but I feel like in Final Fantasy Tactics, if you died and left without reviving your dudes, even if you won, I'm pretty sure you lost your dudes. Somebody in the comments tell me if that's correct. If you win the battle, or retreat even, and your dude is downed, your dude's fine, which is something I really appreciate in this game. All right, and it looks like we still have our sweeping attack. Look at this, watch. Because we never used it. That's a really strong unit, but it's also a very situational unit. And we probably should have upped our attack damage, actually. We probably could have done that before we hit, but it is what it is. So, oh shoot. He's powering up. Nice. Alright. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough. I think I've given you guys an idea of what to expect from this game. I like it a lot. I think it's basically as close as you're going to get to Final Fantasy Tactics on PC, and it goes absolutely at the very top of the list. I'm going to have this bar graph. It'll be on screen. I'm editing it in later. I'm going to have this bar graph here showing you where each game has ranked as I cover them. And like, yeah, I could have saved this game for way later in the list because it is the closest game, and it kind of makes the series feel a little less direction-y now that I've talked about the closest game I found. But at the same time, you know, I'm going to be honest with you guys, and this is if you're looking for Final Fantasy Tactics, this is it so far. But if you have a game that you think is pretty Tactics-like that you want me to check out, hit me up, leave me a comment, tell me what game you recommend. I have some others I want to look at. They're further away from Final Fantasy Tactics, but they're good in their own ways. And you know, even swing by the Discord, and we can talk about games and stuff. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. I'm Solemn Sunday, and I will see you next time.